I drove into a narrow forest road where the asphalt had long since been replaced by gravel and ruts. The sun was already setting, turning the forest into a shadowy cage and every branch into a clawed hand. My phone was vibrating alarmingly in my pocket, but I wasn't looking at it. I didn't want to see another message from the editor. Are you sure it's worth the risk? There was no certainty, but there was no choice either. The Belleview Inn suddenly appeared in front of me, like a shadow that took shape. A two-story red brick building with a sunken roof and windows with broken glass like broken eye sockets. There's a rusty hotel nameplate next to the entrance. The letters are peeling off, but I read the name out loud anyway, like a magical verdict. I stopped the car, got out, and inhaled the air, saturated with a mixture of rot and smoke. There wasn't a soul around. Only the wind whispered through the trees, and somewhere in the depths of the forest something cracked. Who's there? I shouted, not knowing why. There was only an echo and silence. They let me in without question. The old lock on the door opened with such a creak that I thought it hadn't been opened in decades. But I was wrong. The hotel hall has been preserved as a museum. The carpets don't seem to have been changed since the 1960s. The sofas are upholstered in floral fabric, and there's a smell of dust and something metallic, like old blood. At the reception desk, there was an ashtray with cigarette butts, the dried rings of which indicated that it wasn't just me who had been here. Are you looking for that door? What is it? Asked a voice behind him. I almost fell. An old man in a tattered jacket was standing by the window, his hands clutching a cane, and his eyes seemed to be boring into me. Who are you? Bill Harris, former janitor. I worked here until this place became. He hesitated. It became what it became. Do you know about the door in Attica? He nodded, and his face twisted into a grimace. That door is not for you. It's not for anyone. Why? Because there is something behind it that should not be found. But you know what's in there, don't you? I saw it being closed. Men in black suits. They talked about misunderstandings and mistakes. And then he paused, looking out the window, beyond which the shadows of the forest were already closing in on the ring. You will leave before it is too late. I nodded, but I already knew I wasn't leaving. The next day, I started searching. Atticus was behind the stairs at the end of the corridor, leading up as if to a gallows. The door was massive, made of dark wood, with a rusty iron handle. No lock, no peephole. Only the inscription on the brass, for employees only. In the corner of the attic, there are old suitcases, dusty mattresses, a mountain of letters in boxes. I started sorting through them. The first letters are bills for the 1970s. Payment for the rooms, but the signatures of the hotel's owner, John Belleview, were illegible, as if he had written in a hurry. Then there was a letter from a woman, Elizabeth Cross, dated 1973. John, I know what you're doing. I saw you taking them to Atticus. I'm not silent. Help me, or I'll tell everyone. The next letter is from the police, dated 1974. Dear Mr. Bellevue, we have to inform you that your wife, Elizabeth Cross, has been reported missing. If you have any information, please contact us. I felt the blood drain from my face. More letters, complaints from guests. One man wrote about a whisper behind the wall. Another wrote about a child who runs through the corridors at night. All emails are unanswered. There is a photo at the end of the box. Black and white, crumpled but preserved. It shows John Bellevue standing at the door smiling. Next to her is a woman who looks like Elizabeth, but her face was cut out with a knife. I looked up. The attic door was ajar. I stepped into the attic, keeping my hand on the handle of the flashlight in my pocket. The light through the crack in the door barely dispelled the darkness, but it was enough to see piles of old sofas covered with dusty sheets and stacks of boxes that seemed to have not been touched since the 1970s. The smell was disgusting, a mixture of mold, rust, and something sweetly putrid, as if something had been marinated in its own juice. There was another door in the corner, behind a pile of suitcases. Metal, without a handle, with a rectangular hole in the center, covered with a grate. She was shorter than a man, as if for children. I sat down, leaning against the suitcase. Something rustled inside. I jumped back, but it was just a bag of dusty clothes that shifted under my weight. My hand was shaking when I took out the flashlight. The light fell on a shelf with folders. They were numbered, the Attica 1 and Attica 2 projects. The first one contains reports in the style of medical protocols. Patient 001, 28 years old, male, volunteer. Administration of the drug Serenity in a dose of 10 milligrams. The result, complete muscle relaxation after 3 minutes. The patient did not resist being moved to room 3. The second folder is *recent incident report. It contains photographs of people shackled on couches with needles in their veins. Signature: experiments on the treatment of anxiety disorders. I turned the page. Patient 023, Marion Watson, 34 years old. Relatives reported him missing. The patient did not agree to participate. Solution: isolate in the basement until the circumstances are clarified. Signed by John Belleview. My gaze fell on the grill in the metal door. Scratch marks, as if someone had tried to scratch out the eyes. "Damn psycho," I whispered. Then I heard a sound. Not a whisper, not a creak of floorboards, but heavy, ragged breathing. From behind. He turned around. Nothing. Only the shadow of a lantern, which jerked sharply towards the stairs. "Who's there?" I shouted. The answer was silence. But the sound was repeated. Deeper, closer to the metal door. I went to the door, putting my ear to the bars. And I heard them. Faint but obvious moans. "Who's that?" I asked, banging on the metal. Nothing. Only sounds like crying. My phone vibrated in my pocket. "Editor, come back. It's dangerous." I opened the camera and saw that in the frame, when I was opening the folders, a shadow flashed behind my back. My heart started pounding in my ears. I whispered, remembering the janitor, "Are you here?" The creak of floorboards. I whirled around. There stood a man in a dirty bathrobe, with a face covered with scars, as if they were trying to squeeze him out of his skin. His eyes were sunken, but burning like coals. You weren't supposed to find this," he whispered. Are you alive? Are you a Bellevue patient?" He didn't answer. His bruised hand squeezed the air as if he was trying to grab me. You have to go," he said. "He'll be back." "Who?" "John." He never leaves." I backed away, but the man suddenly lunged forward, grabbing my arm. "Hide in the basement. Quickly." "But how?" He pushed me towards the stairs at the opposite end of the attic, where the steps lead down into the darkness. "Go ahead." "Stop it," he shouted, and his voice turned into a rasp. Then you'll find a way out." I started to go down, but over my shoulder, I saw a man stagger up to the metal door. "No need," I shouted. He punched the door, and it swung open. Inside is a cramped cell. The walls are made of concrete, and in the corner is a couch tied with chains. There are traces of vomit and blood on the floor. And the body. The man who had been standing in front of me was now lying on the floor, his neck twisted at an unnatural angle. I backed away, but a light flashed on at the bottom of the stairs. John Bellevue was standing there, or his doppelganger. He was wearing dark trousers and a shirt, and his hair was as tousled as in the photo. But the face is like a mask without emotions. "You're late," he said, his voice muffled, as if from an underwater world. "You found the door too late." It's impossible," I whispered. "You're dead." "No," he chuckled. "I just moved." I rushed to the door, but it was closed. "You're not coming out," Bellevue said, pulling an ampoule of clear liquid from his pocket. "This is Serenity, now 10 times stronger. Did you kill your patients? These aren't murders. These are trials. And Elizabeth." His face contorted. She knew too much. I rushed to the stairs, but he was there in an instant. "You don't understand," he said, grabbing me by the shoulders. "We create perfect people. No fears, no pain. You will be the first volunteer." "No." He bit into my arm, and I screamed as I fell. "You're a fool," he whispered. "You found something you shouldn't have been looking for." I hit him on the head with a flashlight. He collapsed, but immediately got up. His eyes are now red, like an animal's. "You're going to die here," he said, "like everyone else." I rushed to the door, but it was locked. Then I saw the window. It was at the end of the corridor, leading from the attic. Bellevue was already running after me. "You're not leaving." "Stop it," he shouted. I jumped through the window, breaking the glass. It was a long fall. When I woke up, I was lying on the ground behind the hotel, with bruised elbows and blood in my mouth. But Bill Harris was watching me, with an axe in his hand. You have to leave," he whispered, "before he gets back." "Who is this man?" I asked, getting up. "He's not human," Bill replied. "He's an experiment." "What?" "John Bellevue died in 1974. But his body, it's not decomposing. He returns when someone finds the door." "You're lying." "Look at the hotel." I looked. A shadow flickered in the window, on the top floor. "He's waiting for you to come back," Bill said, so that you can become part of his lab. But how? He's not dead. Bill grabbed my arm. He's preserved himself. Somehow. How? He drank Serenity every day. It slows down decomposition. You're crazy. Then why? Bill nodded at my hand. Don't you have a bite wound? I looked. There was a perfectly smooth scar on his wrist, as if it had been painted. He didn't want you to die, Bill whispered. No, I said. It's already in your blood. What? He injected you with Serenity. It changes people. How? You will be stronger, faster. But you will stay here too. Forever. No. You'll be back. You can't leave. No. Then why are you already feeling this? A cramp started in my hand where the bite was. The muscles contracted as if they were changing shape. You're lying. I shouted. Look at the sky, Bill said. I looked. The stars were gone. But there was a shadow in the sky that grew until it was over the hotel. It's him, Bill whispered. What? He's not just in the body. He's part of this place. What should I do? Go away. Right now. But I couldn't move. My legs carried me back to the hotel by themselves. No, I whispered, no. He's already inside you, Bill said, hitting me in the legs with an axe. I fell, but he didn't stop. I'm sorry, he said, as I screamed in pain, but you're not human anymore. And then I saw Bill pick up the axe again. I was lying on the ground, holding onto the legs that Bill Harris had just hit with an axe. Blood was streaming between his fingers, but the pain wasn't the worst. You're crazy, I whispered, trying to stand up. Look at your hands, he said, moving into the shadows. I looked. There's a bite mark on my wrist, but nothing else. He wanted you to come back, Bill continued, his voice shaking, like they made everyone do. Who are they? Those who stayed here. What do you mean? He nodded towards the hotel. After John Bellevue disappeared in 1974, his son, Mike, took over the management. But he continued to experiment. Not with people, but with those who couldn't leave. How's that? Mike urged the guests to stay forever. He called it therapy. Those who refused disappeared. And you knew. I worked here. I saw them taking them to the basement. At first I thought it was a joke. Then, he paused, looking at the second-floor window. Mike's an old man now. He lives in a hotel like a gate. Controls everyone who comes. So he was stalking me. No, he can't anymore. Then who is it? The ones he created. You're talking nonsense again. Look at the ground, he said, pointing to the footprints. I looked. There were boot prints on the grass, but not human ones. They were too wide, with uneven footprints, as if someone had walked on tiptoe, but hunched over. They're the ones who stayed, Bill whispered. They were forced to work here. How are the slaves? Worse. Mike made them part of the hotel. They're not sleeping. They don't eat. They just exist. It's impossible. Then why did you see that door in Attica? It's just an old basement. And the body in the basement? I didn't see any body. You're lying. Suddenly, a branch snapped behind him. Bill, I whispered, who is this? He waved his hand at me. Run. I rushed to the car, but my legs refused to obey. Blood from the wound on my leg mixed with the ground, and I stumbled. You're not leaving, a voice said from behind him. It wasn't Bill. You have to stay, the man said, coming out from behind the tree. He was wearing a torn dressing gown, and his face was riddled with scars, as if they had tried to sew him up, but without success. His eyes were empty, but they were directed straight at me. Who are you? I asked. I'm number 023, he whispered, Marion Watson. Are you alive? No, I don't know. He took a step forward, his hands shaking as if he couldn't control their movements. Mike said it was good, that we will be here forever. Get out of here. No, I'm part of the hotel. Help me. I shouted in Bill's direction, but the old man was gone. Marion took another step. You look like them. Do you want to stay too? No. He suddenly lunged forward, grabbing my arm. You have to stay. Let go. I punched him in the face. He staggered back, but immediately approached again, staggering. You don't understand, he whispered. It's calm. Peace of mind. You are. I don't feel any pain. I don't feel anything. Then why are you here? We were guarding the hotel. From whom? He grinned, showing yellow teeth. From those who want to leave. Another person came out of the hotel. A woman in a torn dress, with a face covered with sores. You should join us, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. No, you're already here, Marion whispered. I rushed to the car, but the woman blocked the way. Your phone, she said, it's in the way. What? She grabbed my phone from my pocket and smashed it on the ground. You can't leave now, she whispered. You're crazy. We're part of the hotel, Marion repeated, and we're not going to let you destroy our house. Your house? This is a mental hospital. No, this is our place. Another man came out of the hotel, an old man with dark glasses and a cane. Mike Belleview, he introduced himself, his voice shaking as if he hadn't spoken in years. You have to go, mister. I do not know your name, I interrupted. It doesn't matter. You found the attic. You found the door. And now what? You will stay with us. No, you don't understand, Mike said. You're already in our family. Family? Yes. You're like us. You've seen the truth. The truth. You killed people. I didn't kill. Mike raised his hand. I helped. They couldn't leave. Did you force them? They stayed voluntarily. That's a lie. Look at them. Mike pointed at Marion and the woman. They're happy. They don't feel pain. You've ruined them. I healed them. I backed away, but Marion grabbed my arm again. You'll be happy too, he whispered. No. I headbutt him in the face. He flew back, but immediately stood up like a robot. You can't escape, Mike said. You're already part of this place. No. Yes, the woman whispered. You're already here. They closed around me, and I realized it wasn't fear that I woke up in a hotel room, somewhere at the end of the corridor. Sunlight filtered through the curtains, but I couldn't remember how I got here. The last thing I remembered was Marion grabbing my arm and Mike Belleview shouting, You're already here. There was a phone in his pocket, but it was smashed. I stood up carefully, checking the door. It was unlocked, but there was silence behind it. You're awake, a voice said from behind him. Mike Bellevue was standing in the doorway, a plate of food in his hands. You shouldn't have found this, he said, nodding at my torn shirt. But now you know. You kidnapped me? No, you stayed. You're like us. I want to leave. He put the plate on the table, and I saw that it was just bread and water. You can't, he said. You've signed a contract. What contract? Yesterday. You agreed to stay. I don't remember. You were shocked. Is okay. You're lying. He shook his head. You've seen the attic. You've seen them. You've realized that this is the only way. A way of what? Be free from pain. Do you give them medicine? It's not medicine. It's therapy. Therapy. Which one? They don't want to leave. They stay voluntarily. Marion is a victim. Marion is part of the family. Just like you. I don't want to be a part of your family. You're already in it. I ran for the door, but Mike was faster. Don't, he said, grabbing my hand. You don't want the same thing that happened to Bill Harris to happen to you, do you? Bill. He wanted to leave too. Is he alive? No, he's gone. Where is he? In Attica. Did you kill him? He's not dead. He's moved on to another level. You're crazy. You will become like that too. Never. You're almost ready. He opened the door, and I saw Marion and a woman walking down the hall. Their faces were full of scars, but they moved steadily, like robots. You'll be with us, Mike said. No. I rushed to the window, but it was closed. You're not leaving, he repeated. You're already part of this place. How can I leave? You don't want to. Yes, I do. Then why are you here? You forced me. No, you have chosen this. I hit him, but he didn't back down. You're not human, I whispered. I am the same as you. No, you will be the same. No, you have already. Suddenly, there was a knock behind Mike. Mike, Marion shouted. There's someone in the woods. I'm going, Mike said, and you stay here. He went out, and I quickly closed the door. Mister. Marion shouted again. I went to the window. There was a wall behind him, but there was a glimpse of a figure in the woods below. Help me. I shouted, but Marion was already running down the hall. You're not leaving, he whispered, making his way to the door. I rushed to the closet, but it was empty. You can't stop me. Yes, I can. He grabbed my hand, and I felt his fingers digging into my skin. You're sick. No, I'm part of the hotel. Let go. You will be like us. You'll understand. No. I hit him in the face with my head, and he staggered back. You're not coming out, he whispered. You're already here. No. I rushed to the door, but it was open. "You won't get through," Mike said, standing at the exit. "Help me." I shouted. "Who will hear you?" "The police." "You didn't call." "You cannot." "Why?" "Because you're here." You locked me up." "I saved you." "From what?" "From the pain." You're a murderer." "I'm a doctor." "A doctor?" "Yes. I treat people." "Are you treating me?" "You turn them in the quiet ones, in the happy ones. You're there. I help them. They can't leave because it's their choice. You intimidated them. They stayed voluntarily." "No." "Yes." "And you too." "No." "You're already here." "No." "Yes." "You signed the papers." "Where?" "Yesterday." "You were shocked." I don't remember." "Remember. You have chosen this." "No." "Yes." He came closer, and I saw how his eyes were empty, without emotion. You're not human," I whispered. "I am the same as you." "No." "You will become like me." "No." "Yes." He grabbed me, and I felt myself being led down to basement. "You can't." "We can." "Who are you?" "We are a family." "No." "Yes." "You're already a part of us." I struggled, but his hands gripped me like a vice. Are you going to kill me?" "No." "I will heal you." "Heal you?" "Yes." "You will be happy." "No." "Yes." He pushed me through the door, leading to the basement. You can't." "We can." He locked the door, and I was left in the dark. You're not leaving." His voice came through the door. "You will become like us." I sat down on the floor, feeling my throat go dry. "Help me." I shouted. The answer was silence. Just silence. And I realized that I couldn't leave anymore. I became part of their family.